Well, it was Christmas Eve, and a couple had just returned from an enjoyable midnight service. Perhaps Bruce was there. They arrived home, went to sleep, but they were soon awakened by a loud knocking on the front door. The husband grumpily threw on a robe, went down the stairs, unlocked the door, and standing before him was a disheveled and inebriated man who slurrily asked, "Excuse me, sir, will you help me with a push?" "Help you with a push?" the husband said. "You drunken idiot, get away from my house before I call the police. You should not even be driving." He slammed the door in the man's face and he went back up to bed. When the husband told his wife what had taken place, she surprised him with a reprimand. "How could you be so mean and uncharitable?" she said. "Surely this evening's sermon must still be ringing in your ears. How the innkeeper turned Joseph and Mary away on Christmas Eve. When you're presented with the same sort of situation, you show yourself to be no better than that uncaring man. Shame on you." And the husband, full of remorse, ran down the stairs, opened the front door, but the man was no longer there. And he ran out in the cold to the sidewalk to find the guy, but there was no sign of him. He peered into the dark toward the park across the street, and on the off chance that the man might still be around, he shouted, "Hey, mister, needing a push, where are you?" And the unmistaken, drunken voice replied immediately, "I'm here in the park, waiting for a person on the swing." Well, what I like about that story, not only because it's amusing, at least to me, but that the sermon during Advent gets remembered, nicely summarized, and then immediately applied. And if you think about it, the husband in the story is a lot like most of us. Someone who sort of clunkily gets the message to do the right thing and is finally motivated by the wisdom of love being taught by others. The wonderful thing about Christianity, and for that matter the Jewish tradition that Jesus and his original followers came out of, is that clunky people, real people, are not just loved by the universal spirit that soaks all of creation, but that they are also empowered by that spirit, to be God's agents in the world. And clunky as we are, we do God's work, even if it just means a begrudging sense of love sends us in the middle of the night to try and help someone who's partying a bit too hard on Christmas Eve. Love comes in many forms, but it always makes the ordinary extraordinary. Love comes in many forms, but it always makes the ordinary extraordinary. And some of you are experiencing your first Advent at this love-filled, ordinary, but extraordinary, wonderful church. And so let me warn you, I have inside information that the pastor loves Christmas time. He usually starts listening to Christmas songs in the fall, claiming it's to prepare and plan for Advent. This year, I can tell you for a fact, the pastor threw all caution and pretext to the wind, and he lit a fire in the fireplace on a cool August night at a beach house in Oregon, pulled the sofa up to the fire, put his arm around his wife, and listened to Christmas music. The church's pastor is so enamored with Christmas, he's all for its true spirit being celebrated all year long. It's true. I love Christmas. I see it as a living hologram, crystal ball of the potential for humankind. It's not in clear focus. To paraphrase Paul, we look through a glass dimly. The oil film of things like greed and commercialism obstruct the view, but by God, you can see it. You can feel it. You can sense it. You can even breathe it. Love fills the air at this time of year, and all the love to family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, and strangers is awesome. And it has the raw and glorious promise of our potential. And it looks, and it feels, and it smells good. Our senses like soaking in love. So much so, most of us have fond thoughts about Christmas triggered all the rest of the year. When we catch a whiff of peppermint, see a plump, white, bearded man touch a sticky pine tree, or purposely put on a Christmas CD in August in front of a fire with a loved one. Christmas is more than the culture being saturated with love. It's proof and the promise that we can be a better people. We can care, we can give, we can love one another more. Christmas is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that love matters, that love makes a difference. We really can make it much more a part of our lives. Love is transformative. The Christmas narratives are about all of this power and this promise of love stuff. And every year I preach about Mary, Jesus' mother, during Advent. Protestants have a habit of pretty much only thinking of Mary as the miraculously pregnant woman who rode the donkey into Bethlehem on Christmas Eve and then kneeled before him in the manger with a proud and fond look of a new mother. And nowadays, we also sometimes argue about whether Mary really conceived the child without a human male partner. And a lot, and I mean a lot, of people love the part of the stories in Matthew and Luke about Mary being a virgin. And many, many, many Christians are very comfortable accepting that as literally true. And I'm very good with that being an important part of the Christmas story. I understand it and I get it. And I personally love it as a metaphoric truth that, like Mary, our conception of Christ is between us and God. But I am not a minister who insists believing Mary was literally a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus is essential to the faith. When it comes right down to it, I do not know how opinions about Mary's virginity are critical to what following Jesus is ultimately about. What matters is that we believe in love and in loving. That's essential. For Christians, what ought to matter above all else is that the way Jesus created and Christ still creates helps us do those two things, to believe in love and to believe in loving, to, in essence, spread love around. And that is exactly what I see happening at Christmas in our culture. There is this great month of increased and out loud and in action, believing in love and in loving and doing both and celebrating both a whole bunch more than we do the rest of the year. It's a remarkable and it's time of year and it's a beautiful thing, and I am unashamedly in love with it. I adore it. And a part of my love for it is that clunky, ordinary people like you and me are doing it. We are making a difference. We are helping bring about the breaking forth of the reign of God into the world in a very real, a very tangible, touchable, sensible way. Bringing peace on earth, goodwill to all is what we, frail, broken, imperfect beings want, and what we believe in and make strides toward achieving, which is just more love in our lives as we follow Jesus' way and we hold it up and we celebrate and focus on it. One of my concerns about the Christmas Bible stories is that they are often heard to only be about supernatural events. There's an otherworldly angel who visits Joseph and Mary and the shepherds. There's a miraculous virgin conception. There's a miracle star and almost magical magi who divine its meaning. And all of these parts of the story of Jesus' birth are wondrous and wonderful. But they've grown over time to give this sense that Christmas is about the birth of a Superman who grows up to do impossible things. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes it very hard for us to, as the Bible instructs, walk as Jesus walked. That is, to do as he did. How can we do what Jesus did if he did it as a uniquely super-powered being? Well, the answer is, we can't. And the thing is, before, during, and after Jesus' life on earth and in a human body, people have been able to do the things he did that matter, taking care of those in need, opposing oppression, loving. We can do that stuff too, because Jesus was like us, human. Jesus was fully human. The Gospels are about God sending a human being bring peace on earth